Beyond legends, 5 icons that transformed the world of firearms. The truth your textbooks won't tell you. For just a moment, imagine you're holding not merely a piece of metal and wood, but history itself. The history of wars, revolutions, the fates of entire nations and individual lives. You hold in your hands an object that literally shaped history, altered the outcomes of battles, and decided whose truth would prevail. Every scratch on the stock, every fingerprint on the grip, is a silent witness to its era. You're watching the War Machines channel, and today we're not delivering a dry list of facts or a routine overview. Today, we embark on an exhilarating journey through time and space. We'll analyze, argue, admire, and marvel. We'll delve into the most hidden corners of firearms history to understand why these 5 specimens became not just weapons, but genuine cultural phenomena, style icons, and objects of veneration. Our guide on this journey will be Will Dabb's article 5 Iconic Firearms. But we'll go much further. We'll unfold each thesis like a treasure map and uncover what lies beneath those sterile lines of technical specifications. We'll add economic analysis. How much did it cost nations to produce these legends? How did they reshape the military-industrial complex? We'll immerse ourselves in historical context. And of course, I won't resist sharing my own, sometimes highly controversial commentary. And yes, I'm warning you up front. This material will ignite a storm. The debates will be fierce, and the comments fiery. But that's precisely the point. Just remember, friends, I'm not here to lay down dogma. I'm offering food for thought. As the old saying goes, don't shoot the pianist, he's playing the best he can. And I'll do my utmost to play the symphony of steel and fire as captivatingly as possible for you. Let's go. Introduction. What makes a firearm iconic? The trendsetters of the battlefield. Before we dive into our list of 5 bold contenders, let's ask a fundamental question. By what right did they earn their place in this Hall of Fame? Will Dabbs calls them trendsetters. That's a brilliant phrase, but what does it actually mean in practice? It's not always the deadliest weapon, not the most mass-produced, and certainly not the most reliable. An iconic firearm is one that flips the entire paradigm on its head. It introduced something unprecedented, something that changed everything forever afterward. It's like the first automobile, the first smartphone, the first voyage into space. It set the trajectory that firearms design would follow for decades, even centuries. This is a weapon that became a symbol of an era, of an army, of an entire philosophy. Artists admire its lines. Engineers study its mechanics, and its soul, its inexplicable charisma, compels collectors to spend fortunes just for the chance to touch a legend. It's from this perspective that we'll examine our nominees. Ready? Then let's move through the list, and we'll start with the man whose name became synonymous with an entire class of firearms. The Colt model of 1851, Navy, the revolver that conquered the Wild West and carved a new path in history. Emotional hook. A lone schooner cuts through the leaden waves of the Atlantic. A young sailor, bored, gazes at the capstan, a powerful vertical winch, and in his mind, amid the howling wind and creaking rigging, an image is born. The image of a device that would change everything. Myth or reality, it doesn't matter. What matters is that this story perfectly captures the essence of Colt. He was a genius not only of engineering, but, more importantly, of marketing. Historical and economic analysis. Let's travel back to mid-19th century America. The nation stands on the brink of civil war. The Industrial Revolution is in full swing, yet firearms remain bespoke, expensive commodities. Most pistols of the era are single-shot systems requiring lengthy reloading after every shot. Samuel Colt, an entrepreneur born of divine providence, grasped the crucial insight. He wasn't just selling a weapon, he was selling an idea. The idea of superiority. The idea that one man with a revolver equals 6 men armed with single-shot pistols. His genius lay in establishing mass production using interchangeable parts. This was industrial magic. Before Colt, firearms were crafted individually by skilled artisans. Colt put them on an assembly line. Economic note. In the 50s of the 19th century, a Colt Navy revolver cost about $17. For context, a skilled laborer's monthly wage rarely exceeded $30 to $40. This was a serious investment, yet Colt sold it on installment. He created demand, advertising his weapon everywhere he could, leveraging tales of Western conquest and Texan heroes. Between 1851 and 1873, over 250,000 units were produced, an enormous figure for that time. He even established production not only in the United States but also in London, revealing his global ambitions. Will Dab's legend deep dive. Will recounts the romantic tale of Roland White, who, by welding together two defective cylinders, created the first model with through chambers, ultimately leading to the legendary Peacemaker of 1873. It's a wonderful anecdote, but that's precisely where things get truly interesting. My commentary and expanded view: was there ever a boy, or the European roots of an American legend? Here, as a firearms historian, I must add my own, perhaps slightly skeptical note. While I deeply respect Colt as a brilliant businessman, I cannot ignore the Americocentrism prevalent among many experts. The fact is, revolvers existed before Colt, and not just primitive pepper boxes, but genuinely refined systems. Take, for example, the English Dean Adams revolvers. As early as 1858, 1 year before White's patent, Charles Lancaster in England was already demonstrating revolvers with through cylinders. And that famous break-action frame, which later became standard for thousands of subsequent models. It first appeared en masse precisely on French and English break-top revolvers of that same period. So what truly explains the Colt phenomenon? Why did he, not some European gunsmith, become the symbol of the revolver? In my view, the answer lies not in engineering, but in socioeconomic context. Colt was the Steve Jobs of his era. He didn't just create a product, he built an ecosystem. He made his revolver fashionable, prestigious, and desirable. He was a marketing genius. His weapon stood with the conquerors of the Wild West, gold prospectors, sheriffs, and Texas Rangers. It became part of the great American mythos. European revolvers may have been more technologically advanced and elegant, but they lacked such an epic saga, such grandiose marketing. And if we're speaking of genuine technical influence on future generations, I might place my bet not on Colt, but on Smith & Wesson. Their Model 3, using a centerfire metallic cartridge, became the first truly modern revolver, the one that shaped development for decades to come. Colt sold a dream. Smith & Wesson sold the technology of the future. And therein lies their greatest, though slightly less celebrated, contribution. The Luger P-08, the aristocrat with an engineer's soul. A pistol as dangerous in appearance as in firepower. Emotional hook, just an angle. But what an angle! Pick up a Luger, the grip seems molded for your palm. It nestles into your hand as if it were an extension of your will. This pistol isn't merely ergonomic. It's elegant. It's as beautiful as it is deadly. It's the weapon of an aristocrat, a scholar, and an assassin all in one. Holding it feels less like wielding a tool and more like holding a work of art that hasn't forgotten its lethal purpose. Historical and economic analysis. The dawn of the 20th century. Europe, a powder keg ready to explode. The world's armies are still largely armed with revolvers. George Luger receives a task: improve the clumsy and expensive Borchardt C93 pistol. And he doesn't just improve it, he performs an act of creation. Luger took a complex but promising toggle lock system and transformed it into something refined and efficient. Its knee-joint-like mechanism was not only reliable but astonishingly accurate. The P-08 became one of the first semi-automatic pistols adopted by a major army, Switzerland in 1900, followed by Germany. Economic note: the Luger was devilishly expensive. Its production demanded high-precision machining, numerous milled parts, and meticulous fitting. By some estimates, the unit cost of a single P-08 was several times higher than that of its contemporaries. For Kaiser's Germany, it was a weapon for elite units, officers, and submariners. Production was slow and complex, yet its prestige and effectiveness justified the expense. After the First World War, it became one of the most coveted trophies for Allied soldiers, and during the Weimar Republic and Third Reich eras, its, albeit simplified, production continued, proof of its irreplaceable status as a symbol of German military might. Will Dab's legend deep dive? Will is absolutely right to highlight the aggressive grip angle, now associated with the Glock, as a breakthrough in ergonomics. He also mentions various modifications, including the artillery model with an extended barrel, drum magazine, and stock holster, which foreshadowed today's machine pistols. My commentary and expanded view: first among equals, bringing heaven down to earth. Challenging the legions of Luger devotees is a thankless task, and I won't try. As a symbol, as the herald of the semi-automatic pistol era in military service, the Luger was unquestionably first. It showed the world that the future belonged to magazine-fed pistols. But let's be honest. As a combat weapon, the Luger had serious flaws. Its vulnerability to mud and dust wasn't myth. It was the grim reality of First World War trenches. Its intricate mechanism demanded perfect maintenance. And that very elegant grip angle, so ideal for target shooting, made the pistol less comfortable for holster carry. And here, I'll deliberately provoke Luger fans, not out of malice, of course. Far greater influence on the design of virtually all modern pistols came not from the P08, but from another contemporary, the Browning model of 1900, and even more so, his later designs. The short recoil barrel system with locked breech, that's all Browning. Luger created a style icon. Browning created the workhorse, a long-lived design still copied today. Personal experience. I've held both a Luger and a Walther P38. And I may commit heresy here, but I'd choose the Walther. The P38, for all its outward simplicity, was better suited to the harsh realities of war. It was more reliable, easier to maintain, and crucially, safer thanks to its safety decocking lever. The Luger is the P51 Mustang of pistols. Beautiful, fast, legendary, but demanding love and attention. The Walther is the rugged off-roader that gets you anywhere. The Colt M1911. Testosterone forged in steel. Pistol that commands, not requests. Emotional hook. Some sounds become part of a nation's cultural DNA. In America, it's the click of the M1911's cocked hammer. It means, the conversation is over. This weapon doesn't fire bullets, it fires pure, undiluted will. It's large, heavy, angular. It lacks even a hint of European refinement. And that's precisely its greatest strength. When you hold an M1911, you hold a piece of American history, forged in battle and polished by legend. Historical and economic analysis. The story of the M1911 begins with failure, the failure of the .38 caliber cartridge during the Philippine insurrection. American soldiers faced fanatical Moro warriors who proved nearly impossible to stop with low-powered rounds. A cartridge with devastating stopping power was needed. Thus emerged the .45 ACP, automatic Colt pistol round, and the pistol designed for it by the genius John Moses Browning. Economic note: the M1911 became a model of economic efficiency. Despite its power and reliability, it was relatively simple and inexpensive to mass produce. Millions were manufactured across 2 world wars, Korea and Vietnam. The design proved so successful that it remained virtually unchanged for nearly 80 years. Consider the logistical, training, and supply chain implications of such longevity. The military received a single, proven, familiar weapon for decades, saving the nation billions of dollars. The pistol became a gravitational center for an entire industry of accessories, parts, and customizations that thrives to this day. Will Dab's legend deep dive? Will passionately describes the M1911's unfiltered testosterone and its divine trigger pull, and he's absolutely right. The legend of the Moro warriors binding themselves with straps to enter a battle trance only fueled the myth of the .45 caliber's unmatched stopping power. My commentary and expanded view: symbol versus effectiveness. The caliber wars and evolution. The M1911 is undoubtedly an icon, one of the greatest. But let's separate wheat from chaff. Let's ask the uncomfortable question. Was it truly as perfect as often portrayed? First, the Philippine story. The U.S. Army's desire for a larger caliber arose even earlier, during the Indian Wars. The issue of stopping power was long known. The Philippine campaign was merely the final straw. Second, let's discuss the .45 ACP cartridge itself. Yes, its stopping power is formidable, but it suffers from significant bullet dispersion, heavy recoil, and, most critically, a low trajectory arc. And here's the key point: magazine capacity. 7 rounds versus 13 in the Browning high power. In combat, under stress, quantity often outweighs the quality of a single shot. The chance to land a follow-up hit is frequently more valuable than the guarantee that one hit will drop an enemy. This leads me to my central thesis. In terms of influence on global military trends and firearm fashion, I believe the Browning high power model of 1935 had a greater impact. It used the more compact, flatter 9x19mm parabellum cartridge, held 13 rounds, and became the prototype for countless subsequent models, including the famed Glock. The M1911 is a magnificent symbol. The high power is a magnificent progenitor. The M1911 is love, is passion, is history, but evolution, as so often happens, chose the path of efficiency over grandeur. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's simply a statement of fact. The Fallschirmjäger model of 1942, FG-42, a ghost in steel feathers. Elite weaponry ahead of its time. Emotional hook. Imagine a soldier falling from the sky, a paratrooper. His weapon must be light and compact for the jump, yet as powerful as an infantryman's rifle on the ground. It must deliver precise single shots and lay down automatic fire like a machine gun. German engineers looked at this seemingly impossible challenge and didn't just build a rifle. They created a ghost. Elegant, deadly, technologically advanced, and outrageously expensive. The FG-42 never changed the course of the war, but it forever altered the trajectory of firearms design. Historical and economic analysis. World War II. German paratroopers, Fallschirmjäger, after suffering heavy losses in Crete, realized they needed a universal weapon replacing rifles, submachine guns, and light machine guns. The order went to Rheinmetall. The result? The FG-42. Economic note: the FG-42 was the antithesis of economical mass production. It was a bespoke, exclusive product for elite units. Estimates suggest only about 7,000 were ever made. Compare that to the 6 million American M1 carbines produced at a rate of tens of thousands per day. Manufacturing a single FG-42 required extensive milling, complex assembly, and hand-fitting. It was astronomically expensive. Using costly materials and complex processes during total war was an unjustifiable luxury. Nazi Germany's strained wartime economy simply couldn't afford to equip its entire army with such a rifle. Will Dab's Legend Deep Dive. Will correctly notes that the FG-42 was too heavy for a submachine gun and too light for a machine gun. But its brilliant short-stroke gas piston system and overall layout became a source of inspiration. My commentary and expanded view. Stolen genius? The direct line from FG-42 to the M60. Here, Will Dabbs utters a key phrase many American historians tend to avoid. The guts of the pig, the M60 machine gun, are strikingly similar to those of the FG-42. Yes, friends, this wasn't mere influence. It was direct, almost literal borrowing. After the war, engineers at Springfield Armory acquired captured FG-42s. They disassembled them, studied them, and created the M60. The gas system, rotating bolt, even the overall concept were inherited from the German rifle. Of course, there were modifications, often for the worse. The M60's unreliable feed system is a prime example. But the fact remains, German firearms genius, though belatedly, ended up serving the enemy. So why include the FG-42 in our list if it was so rare? Precisely because it was a concept car. It showed the way. It proved that a lightweight automatic weapon chambered for a full-power rifle cartridge, 7.92 by 57 millimeters, could deliver both highly accurate semi-automatic fire, thanks to closed-bolt firing, and controllable automatic fire from an open bolt. It was the forerunner of modern general-purpose machine guns and assault rifles. Its spirit lives on in every contemporary assault rifle. The Steyr August, an alien from the future. The rifle that shattered all stereotypes. Emotional hook. 1977. The world is obsessed with Star Wars. People are waiting for the future. And the future arrives not as a spaceship but as a rifle. Plastic. No traditional wooden or steel stock. Equipped with a built-in telescopic sight. Folding, compact, yet with a long barrel. And it lacks a bolt hold open? The Steyr August, Army Universal Gewehr, Universal Army Rifle, was a shock. This wasn't an evolutionary step. It was a generational leap. It looked like sci-fi movie prop, yet outshot many classic competitors. Historical and economic analysis. The 70s. The world realized the era of wood and steel in firearms was ending. Something new was needed, something cheap, light, technologically advanced, and accurate. The Austrian firm Steyr offered its answer. Economic note. The August was a triumph of polymer economics and modular design. Polymer use drastically reduced weight, production cost, and corrosion vulnerability. Modular construction allowed rapid barrel changes in the field, transforming the rifle into a carbine, assault rifle, or light machine gun. This dramatically shortened logistics chains and training costs. One base platform could fulfill multiple roles. The August was among the first rifles to widely adopt optical sights, 1.5x magnification, enhancing the average soldier's accuracy, and thus the entire army's combat effectiveness. It was adopted by Austria, Australia, Ireland, and several other nations, proving its competitiveness on the global arms market. Will Dab's legend deep dive? Will is right to call the August a harbinger of things to come. Everything we see in modern rifles today, polymer construction, integrated optics, modularity, bullpup layout, was already present in the August. My commentary and expanded view, the future that arrived. And why not everyone embraced it? On this point, I fully agree with Will Dabbs. The August was a revolution, but every revolution has its price. The bullpup configuration, trigger group forward, magazine behind the pistol grip, despite its compactness with a long barrel, has drawbacks. Ambidextrous use is awkward, ejection ports blast spent casings directly into a left-hander's face. The trigger pull is heavier due to the long linkage, and the shifted center of gravity remains controversial even today. Yet the genius of the August lies in the fact that it wasn't just first, it was well executed. Its balance, ergonomics, and reliable gas system proved that bullpup wasn't a gimmick, but a legitimate combat system. It forced the world to rethink firearm layout. Had Austria led NATO, perhaps today's alliance soldiers would carry descendants of the August instead of the M4. It paved the way for Britain's L85, France's FAMAs, and Israel's Taver. It created an entire school of firearms design. And that is its greatest legacy. Conclusion. And what's on my personal list? 5 icons that transformed my world. Having completed this monumental exploration, I can't resist offering my own purely personal, and therefore debatable, list. Without claiming absolute truth, I'd highlight the specimens that, in my view, exerted the most direct and undeniable influence on the entire firearms industry. The Browning model of 1900. It launched the era of compact, reliable semi-automatic pistols accessible not just to militaries but to civilians. The foundation of foundations. The Maxim machine gun. It didn't just change the battlefield, it obliterated the battlefield as previously understood. It birthed trench warfare and forced armies worldwide to rethink tactics entirely. The Browning Save high-power model of 1935. De facto, the first modern combat pistol. Double-stack magazine, powerful cartridge, reliable design. The prototype against which all of 20th century pistol design was measured. The M1 Garand/SVT-40 self-loading rifles. Here, parity reigns. These rifles were the first to mass-introduce self-loading capability to armies and employed the rotating bolts and short-stroke pistons that would later become the heart of every assault rifle, from the AK to the M16. They were the first mass-issue soldiers' self-loaders. The Steyr August, as with Dabs, for showing us the face of the future. Every firearm in this article and on my list is more than just a mechanism. It's an idea embodied in metal and polymer. It's a frozen moment of an engineer's epiphany, a tactical solution, a symbol of its age. Debates over which weapon is better or more important will rage forever. And that's wonderful because every such discussion is a tribute to the genius of human thought, which, even in the grim business of crafting instruments of death, managed to display such inventiveness, beauty, and power. Call to action. And so concludes our massive review. I hope it sparked fiery debate and a deeper curiosity about firearms history. Now it's your turn. Drop a comment below. Which of my controversial opinions do you agree with, and which would you fight to the death? What firearm would you add to the list of iconic weapons, and why?